Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy. I hope you're all doing really well. It has been a minute since I've been on camera, since I've been chatting with you all. I have no other excuse other than life was kicking my butt for a little bit and I was really busy and stressed at work and I just needed a little time to do some self-care. And to be honest, I wasn't reading for quite some time, so I didn't have much to report. But I'm back out of that slump. Work has settled a little bit, knock on wood, and so I'm feeling inspired to come back, get back into the rhythm of things, and I'm excited. So I'm gonna start a little reading vlog. I think right now it's just gonna be a weekend reading vlog, but we'll see. I don't know, we'll see what we get up to. Tonight is my sister's birthday, so shout out to Jordan. So we're going out to dinner, probably gonna hang out afterwards. And I don't know what the rest of the weekend is gonna hold. So I'll take you guys along. I'm gonna try and read as much as I can. So really quick reading update on like, what have I been reading lately, or like, what am I reading now? I do think I'm gonna do a recent reads video, kind of covering the few books that I was able to read in February and March. I'm sure you guys can hear Francis by my feet. Very chatty as always. Yes. Anyways, what am I reading right now? I'm reading a few things kind of at the same time because that's the way I roll. So the first thing I'm reading is Above Ground by Clint Smith. This is his newest release. It's like a book of a poetry collection. It's all around, I'm a little rusty, whoa. It is centered around becoming a parent. I've read like the first 13 or so pages, and already some of the poems have nearly moved me to tears. I just love his writing. I'm also listening to this just because I've said this before, but he does spoken word. So I love listening to him speak his own words. It just makes it even more powerful, I think. So I'm reading that. I'm also listening to Jasper, Vale by Devney Perry. I know this is book something in the Eden series. I can't quite remember which one, but I'm pretty early on, like maybe 10 or 15%. This book, and I'm pretty sure this is in the description, so it's not spoilery. Eloise gets married in Vegas to Jasper. I forget, he's like the trainer of somebody from a previous book, and they're kind of like back in town and like trying to figure out their lives, and there's stuff going on, and so I'm enjoying it so far, but again, I'm only maybe 15% in. I'm also listening to I'm brain farting on the name, so I'll pop it on the screen, of course, but it's by Aubrey Gordon. One of my favorite podcasts is called Maintenance Phase, and it's Aubrey Gordon and Michael, oh my God, Michael, shoot, I'll put it on the screen. I'm, again, not having a hard time. And it's these two writers and researchers, and they really put a critical eye against diet culture and wellness culture, and they just really assess the validity, and they kind of like poke holes into some really wacky diet myths and misconceptions. It's just so interesting, it's informative, and I just really appreciate that this podcast helps me be a more critical thinker, you know, whenever I see like the next health fad. So I just adore that podcast. And anyway, so this is one of her books that she's written. She just released a new book, and I want to get to that too, but I wanted to read her first one first. I'm nearly done with that. I think I may be like 80% through or so. If you listen to their podcast, the content has very similar themes, but it's still just, it's really interesting. She's such a good writer, and I have learned new things, so I'm really enjoying it. I highly recommend giving that a read or a listen. And then the other kind of guilty pleasure read that I'm in the middle of is I'm going through a bit of a mafia romance phase at the moment, and I'm currently listening to Creatures, something creatures? Creature Comforts. That's definitely not the title. Again, I'll put it on the screen. And this one is okay. I'll tell you a little bit more kind of at our next check-in just because I gotta head out to dinner in a minute or two. But it's okay. So yeah, I'm back. I'm reading a few things right now. I'll take you along with me through the weekend. It's so good to be back. And yeah, I'll check in with you guys in a little bit. I also wanted to mention that it is currently Friday evening, just about 6:15. I don't think I had already said that before. If I have, sorry for repeating myself. Like I said, I'm feeling a little rusty. But anyways, I really wanted to show you guys the special treat I got my sister for her birthday. They look delicious. I got her these fancy donuts. It's like the crumble cookie of donuts. I don't know what flavors we got. I just got a variety. I think we got a little blueberry one in the back. Something Oreo. Something sugary. I can't wait. I can't wait. Good morning, everybody. It is now Saturday morning. I wanted to check in with a little bit of a reading update. First, I just want to say we had so much fun last night. We ended up going out to dinner to an Indian restaurant called Bindas, and it was so good. Our cocktails were delicious. Our server was wonderful. The food was amazing. It was just an overall 10 out of 10 experience. We had such a good time that afterwards we came back to my place and we had drinks and we were chatting. We spent a lot of time talking about books and we were just giggling and just having the best time. So it was such a wonderful evening. I didn't, for obvious reasons, I didn't read anything much last night, but I have been reading a little bit this morning. All right, so I am much further along into Ruthless Creatures. That's the mafia romance that I mentioned in clip number 1. I alluded to this book just being okay, and I still feel that way. I'm about 45, maybe 50% in. I'm listening to the audiobook on Audible. First of all, I have mixed feelings about the audiobook production. It has a bit of a cast of characters, and it's doing the thing where if we're in like the female main character's chapter, so it's like the female audiobook narrator, whenever the male character, they have a scene together, like the male audiobook narrator does the words rather than the female audiobook narrator just like doing a more like a lower toned voice. I don't know, something about it feels a bit jarring and it takes me out of the story a little bit. I'm sure some people might actually prefer that. There's times where I don't mind it at all, and there's times where it like feels cringy and awkward to me, and it takes me out of the story. So I have mixed feelings about the audiobook. This book is very insta-lovey, which is not my favorite of the romance tropes. Sorry, I just had a bit of a coughing fit. My allergies are acting up. If you know, you know. Anyways, like I was saying, it's very insta-lovey, and so I don't totally buy into their chemistry. It just feels way too fast. Plus, like, her humor in particular feels not authentic to like who at the very beginning the author is like painting her out to be. Like she's supposed to be mourning the loss of her fiance who's gone missing, and she's very like kind of sweet and vanilla and, you know, funny, but a bit naive, I guess. And then just kind of like all of a sudden she's doing really crazy dirty talk, and her she's like totally over her fiance in like 2 seconds and is like madly in love with this new guy, and it felt way too fast. It's not super believable. So I'm not loving just the character dynamics and the relationships. They feel just kind of half-assed, if I'm being honest, or at least in my opinion. I know that this is a really popular and kind of beloved book and like author within the mafia romance genre, and so I was very excited to pick this up, and it's just not quite working for me yet, but I am only about 45%, and some of the reviews that I read said that the latter half is better, so I want to stick it out because I want to see what goes down. The plot is relatively interesting. There's a bit of a mystery going on in here. So I'm kind of sticking around to see how that's gonna unfold. So yeah, that book is like just okay for me right now. It's entertaining though, and that's good enough. I also mentioned yesterday, or like in my previous clip, that I'm listening to one of Aubrey Gordon's books. This book is called What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat. And I just finished recently, I think the most interesting chapter. It was called Such a Pretty Face. And it talks all about anti-fat bias and how it shows up in movies, in media, in entertainment, with actors and actresses. And I just thought it was so interesting. She also talks about intersectionality and racism and how all of these things interact with fatness. And it's so interesting. I said this in the other clip, but I just appreciate how informative this is. I don't think enough people talk about anti-fat bias and its pervasiveness in our culture in big ways and small ways. And so I really am loving this book. And like I said yesterday, I love their podcast Maintenance Phase, because it kind of talks, each episode is kind of poking holes at a particular diet fad thing, like celery juice or keto or whatever. I'm enjoying it. So I've also gotten a little bit further this morning in Jasper, Vale, and I'm enjoying it. This is, I think it's book 4 in the Eden series. Eloise is so quirky. I find her really charming and endearing. Jasper's definitely got the brooding, mysterious vibe going on. I'm enjoying their chemistry. Like, I can see why they were initially really drawn to each other, and I'm liking where their relationship is going. And there's a plot point that I obviously don't want to say because it could be a little spoilery, but they're like having to work together to do something or experience something, whatever. And I'm very interested to see like how that's gonna go and like how it helps progress their relationship. Right now there's like just enough angst that it's like feeling just right to me. There's some questions about Jasper's past with his family and past relationships. And so I'm intrigued. I want to learn more. And so I'm liking this book. You know, Devney Perry's been I feel like I give most of her books like 3.5 stars. Like, I like them. They're fun. They're entertaining. They're good. But I'm not itching to recommend them to anyone and everyone. But I'm really enjoying this one. Eloise has been one of my favorite characters from previous books, so I've been really excited to get to this story. So I think that's all my reading updates for right now. It's just after 11. What am I doing today? Today there's a independent local bookstore crawl. And so I'm going with my sisters, again, because my sister's birthday was yesterday. So she's coming over a little bit later this afternoon. We're gonna walk down to one of the bookstores on the crawl list that's near me. We're gonna get some lunch. We're gonna hang by the water, maybe go on a walk, chat some more. And then a little later this afternoon, we're gonna meet up with my other sister and do the bookstores that are in her neighborhood. We might go out to dinner again. I don't know. We're gonna see where it goes. So I'll take you book shopping along with us. I've set a limit for myself of maybe no more than 3 books to buy because I just have a lot of books on my TBR. But I also want to support, small businesses and our local bookstores. I love independent bookstores, and so I'm very excited. We did the same little event last year too, and it was great. I'll take you along. Of course, if I read any more in between now and when my sister gets here, maybe I'll update you guys again. I think that's all I got for you. So I'll see you in the next clip. Okay, hello. It is 1:30, so it's been a little bit of time since I last checked in. I just finished What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat, and it is so good. I think this is such an important book. If you're curious about anti-fat bias, if you've never heard that term, or if you know not a lot, I think from all ranges within that spectrum of knowledge and experience and personal connection, this is a really well-written, interesting, important book. I love that at the end, she talks a lot about like tangible action steps, both from a macro level and a more micro level, on how to reduce anti-fat bias, how to change policies around discrimination, how to create a better world for people of all sizes. She talks a lot about this idea of body justice rather than body positivity. And I loved that framing of it, how people deserve dignity, respect, access to all things, not because they're happy or kind or fat or thin or straight size or whatever, but because we're human beings and humans deserve that. And it's so good. I highly recommend it. And if you just want like a little bite size of her voice, of her perspective, please listen to Maintenance Phase. I'll link like the podcast information down below with Aubrey Gordon and Michael Hobbs. They're such good speakers. They're funny. They're entertaining. And I'm glad that I read this. It was really, really good. So I highly recommend. My sister's going to be here in a little bit. So I think I'm probably going to take a little break from reading. I had already made some breakfast, but I'm getting a little peckish. So I might make a little snack before we go out and about town. But yeah, that's all my reading updates for now. So as soon as she gets here, I think we're going to get to shopping. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. It is now Sunday morning. I have no idea what time it is, to be honest, but that's okay. It has been a very rainy, stormy, dreary, gray, cool Sunday. So it's been a lazy day for me as well. I have done a little bit of reading, but like nothing noteworthy. So I'm not going to do a reading update this morning at least, but I did just want to share how yesterday went. We ended up like kind of doing things the whole day and into the evening, so I didn't really get a chance to jump back in and tell you guys what I got or how it was or what we were up to. So I'm going to do that now. So I mentioned yesterday we did the Independent Bookstore Day book crawl thing. If you followed me on Instagram, you kind of got to see where we went stop by stop. And it was such a wonderful time. Every bookstore was so unique. Each one had like different niches. Like one of the stores we went to was a cookbook store. So they had all things beer, wine, every kind of cuisine, chef writing. I mean, it was so interesting. And it was just a great time. There's one bookstore that we went to that had phenomenal staff recommendations. You know, those like little blurbs that staff write underneath the shelf or whatever. And the recommendations were so good. Both myself and my sister bought one of their recommendations. So it was a really, really good time. If you have independent bookstores near you and you don't go to them often, please look them up. Please go to them. They're just so quaint. They have so much character. It's just such a unique book buying experience versus going to like Barnes and Nobles or, you know, half price books or something like that. So anyways, we loved it. I capped myself off at 3 books. That was my goal, was not to buy more than 3 books. And I'm very proud of myself because I did stick to that. So here are the books that I got. The first book that I picked up was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I read an e-arc of this. I've listened to the audiobook version, and I really, really, really liked this book. So I had to get a physical copy. So this was kind of the book that I knew I wanted to pick up yesterday, and I did, and I love it. If you haven't read it yet, you really should. It's a companion novel to part 1 is Part of Your World. That was my favorite book from last year. You don't have to read them both, but I think it's fun to because characters from Part of Your World have cameos in Yours Truly, but you follow these 2 and they have a little fake dating situation going on, and it's just a good time. Their banter is really good. The chemistry is good. I'll talk more about this book in a later video because I loved it so much and I did read it, so I'm going to do a more formal review. But overall, it's great. Loved it. Glad I picked it up. The next book that I picked up was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I have not read this yet, but I'm just anticipating that this is going to be a 5-star read for me. I've liked almost everything that Kennedy Ryan has written that I've read. I give almost all of her books 4, 4.5, or 5 stars. So I'm just anticipating really liking this. The cover is stunning, and it's gonna look nice on my shelf. So yeah, I'm very excited to have this in my physical collection now. All right, so this is the last book that I picked up. And again, this is one I found off of one of the staff recommendations cards. It's called Hijab, Butch Blues, and it's a collection of essays from this author. So it's a memoir about her experience kind of coming of age, I believe as a teenager, maybe through her young adulthood, as being a queer hijab Muslim immigrant, and just kind of that experience. I don't know much more, but I'm hoping that it's gonna, you know, have a lot of humor. I hope it's going to be really moving. I'm really intrigued to read about a lived experience that I don't know a ton about. And so, yeah, the cover's really beautiful too. So I was very interested. The review that the staff member left said it was one of her favorite collection of essays she's ever read. And so I was sold. So this is the 3rd book that I bought. So yeah, overall, a huge success. I'm thrilled about all of my purchases. One of my sisters also bought a few books, and then my other sister was very restrained, and I don't think she picked up any because she went to some of these bookstores the day before. So she was like, oh, I totally forgot about Independent Bookstore Day, and literally the day before she went to buy books from some of these places, which is a beautiful thing because she goes there anyways, but I digress. After we did our bookstore crawl yesterday, we went out, we got drinks, then we went out to dinner, and then we hung out the rest of the evening. So again, I didn't really read anything last night. I got home pretty late. And so like I said, I had a slow morning today. I'm going to read a little bit. We're going out to brunch shortly. So I'm going to kind of finish getting ready and head out to brunch. And then hopefully I read a little more today. So I'll check in with you guys in a bit. Okay, hello. I'm realizing I forgot to close out Sunday night. It is now Monday afternoon, evening after work. So I just wanted to close out. I was able to finish both Ruthless Creatures and Jasper Vale. And I kind of had reverse reading experiences. I felt like with Jasper Vale, I started off pretty hype about it, really invested. And then as it went on, I became less and less interested by their couple. I fell out of love with them. I started to care less. I was less invested in their relationship and their chemistry. It just kind of was boring me. And there's a plot point at the very end that I didn't think was very well done or well handled. It just felt kind of lazy to me. So I'm feeling really disappointed about Jasper Vale. I'm going to settle on 3 stars, but it's kind of like a 2.5 rounding up. And yeah, like I said, Eloise has been my favorite character. So for me, for this to be such a letdown really sucks. Now, contrary to my experience with Jasper Vale, Ruthless Creatures, I started off and I was like, I don't really care. This is just okay. But man, the last third was a ride. It was so addictive. The more they started to like argue, there was tension built, and I just thought that created such a more interesting relationship dynamic than like the instant lovey-dovey stuff. It was just so much more interesting. It was so much more engaging. The plot was just so exciting. I was so curious about how this mystery was coming together, and I think the ending really set up book 2 really well. I even started book 2 right away because I was so into it. So I'm gonna give that like a 3.5, maybe 4 stars, because I was so entertained by the end. I'm really glad I stuck it out and I finished this book. So all in all, it was a great weekend. We had so much fun spending time with my sister, going out and about town, buying books, talking about books, spending some really nice quality time together. I was able to read quite a bit. And yeah, it was a great weekend overall. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope your day, week, weekend, or whatever is going well. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye.